COD fans, what's up? Welcome back. Good to see you guys. I hold shift. Live from Charlotte. We had ourselves quite a day of games at AGN CLT. Had a chance to watch the majority of the games today and also kind of catch up with a few people on some of the notes on the more interesting matches after the cast had already started for us in Charlotte. So let's dig into this one and break down everything that happened in day number 1 for your recap and get you going for day number 2. Starting things off, we're just going to go things by Group A and Group B. So we'll start with Group A first. Even though this wasn't the technical order of the matchups, just makes it easier for me on the recording. So let's talk Seattle versus Dallas. Again, going into this one, I was feeling a little bit more confident about Seattle when it came to their respawn in specific. Had some concerns about their search and thought that if Seattle could take a hard point off Dallas in the very beginning or a dom, they would have a chance to maybe send this to Game 5, especially if they got better at their search and destroy. Dallas would be up in the third rotation, had the choice to hit for the P2 spawns or get the P1 time for the win on Gunrunner Hardpoint. They get the time. They then have the choice of hitting for P2 to win or set up for the third hill safely. They hit, and back that, they win. 250-225 in a very, very close set on Gunrunner Hardpoint. We then go to the Search and Destroy, where Seattle started off looking very, very good initially, pushing with numbers advantage, playing Search and Destroy properly, but then all hell starts to break loose. Dallas down 2-5 makes a 4-round swing to win the round 11 and take it 6-5. And from there, pretty much felt like you just let the steam out of the bag. Seattle looked like they were pretty much done. However, we would play St. Petro Dom where anything can happen. And again, the Seattle team looked pretty good through it. Dallas got a very early flip of the C flag, held on for the first half, up nearly 40 points. But Seattle would fight back, flip a couple of different times throughout the second half. But Dallas, despite another performance from Shotzi that was not one worth remembering, would still hang on and take this one by 5. So Dallas will get themselves a 3-0. Seattle will fall to the losers bracket. And again, a couple of concerns, I think, across the board. That being said, again, individually, a number of the players on Seattle had a great series. I think when you compare the individuals of Seattle versus Dallas, you would maybe say that Seattle actually had a better series. It just came down to the objective gameplay. Still not quite there for this squad. Again, 1/2 of a hill for a hard point, 5 points when it came down to the domination, and then a single round in the search and destroy. Keep in mind, this Dallas team is good, and if you're a betting folk out there, I think you should look at this Seattle team very seriously when it comes to if they're the underdogs tomorrow. Chicago versus LAG with the next one up. It'll start off on Gunrunner Hardpoint. Gunless hit an early big spree. Formal hitting double positive with a minute 30 plus of hill time. Easy clap for Chicago on the hardpoint, looking like, again, the most solid respawn team we currently have in Modern Warfare. 251-58. St. Petro, Chicago goes up early. Formal scopes uncontested for the entirety of the map pretty much. But LAG would not go away. They stuck with them until late. Chicago was able to start to make some B-bomb hits happen on Petro for a relatively easy win, 6-3. Hackney Domination would be up to finish the map off. And again, you felt like Chicago was going to start kind of rolling away. But this LAG squad is very resilient. Saints got a little bit embarrassed at certain points, so not what you wanted to see. I think just overall, though, there's a lot of learning still to be done with this LAG squad if they want to be able to compete at the highest level. It would come down to a single flip at the very end of this map, which Chicago were able to hold on to and find a 2-point win, 169-167 for the 3-0. So what that leaves us with was Chicago versus Dallas to see who gets out of the group first. And then, of course, on the back end, Seattle will have to play up against LAG. Interestingly enough, the losers bracket round 1 games are not going to be played on this first day. They'll be played on Sunday at the beginning of the day. I think mostly just because you want the pivotal matchups to finish off Saturday, bring more viewership in. The Sunday morning will kind of fizzle people in, and then by the time everyone starts to show up, you've got your finals. So that's probably the reasoning, but not good for Seattle or LAG, who would have to play essentially 4 maps straight, or not 4 maps, but 4 sets straight if they wanted to come back into the series and find their way through the grand finals. But for Chicago versus Dallas, Envoy had an absolutely insane series all the way through. I don't want to break this one down too much because honestly, there wasn't a lot to break down here. Chicago looking like the dominant team pretty much throughout. 251-51 on the Gunrunner hardpoint. Chicago was actually down early on the Search and Destroy in Piccadilly, but they were able to find, again, off the back end of Envoy plays, a lot of success. They would come back down 5-3 to take round 11 6-5. Then we go to Hackney Domination, and this was a little bit uncharacteristic. Chicago looked a little bit lost, getting stuck in the chaos, and Dallas was actually doing a much better job all the way through. But hey, This is what might happen when Dallas can play as a full 5-man squad. 210-160. Dallas take the Hackney Dom. We'd go then to St. Petro Hardpoint. Dallas wasn't ready here. This was a 250-175. Chicago just out-rotating and out-positioning Dallas across the map, generally speaking, from hill to hill. They take the series 3-1. So Chicago get out of the pools and put themselves in the playoff bracket. Dallas will have to play up against the winner of Seattle and LAG after that set goes through. Let's take a look over at Group B really quickly for you guys, and we'll get you on your merry way to get you into the games today. But New York versus Paris was up first. And again, if you remember back to what we were talking about, this New York squad, I did not feel very optimistic about it. It seemed like they had a lot of work across many different factors to be a contender. Even though they played Atlanta relatively close, there were still some big gaping issues in how they were approaching Modern Warfare as a whole when it came to the map mode combinations we saw them on. Paris, meanwhile, I was very high up on Dens and especially Kismet after they were looking very, very solid during their first weekend, and the fact that all 5 Paris players were extremely consistent every time we saw them. Hackney Hardpoint would be up first. Scrappy, close game all the way through until a P5 hill that Paris could not hold while trying to spawn block. Attach and Zuma looks solid. Very, very good. And again, that was our key for this New York team. If Attach and Zuma can pop off on respawn, this New York team will have a chance against just about anybody in the league. They will take the win here 250-202. Going to the Ramaza search. Accuracy. What's up? Welcome back. Temp. Looking solid. Kismet not looking nearly as good. 5-2 in the first bloods for Paris's favor, but they lose the map 6-1. Tough. Very, very tough. Then we go to Gunrunner Domination. New York had a very good first half. Honestly, the first 3 minutes were looking incredible. But then all of a sudden, as the sides would swap for the Gunrunner, New York was a little bit lost out there, losing composure, a lot of solo challenge going into essentially what I like to call the fourth quarter of the domination, and Paris were able to string together a pretty healthy comeback and retake the lead and win this one with a pretty big cushion, 183-165. And it was a good dom. It was one that it's definitely worth going back and looking at if you're into the analytical part of it, because there were a lot of kind of gaping moments that happened, and then maybe I'll go back and do that as part of the breakdown next week. St. Petro Hardpoint would be map number 4. And again, Zuma and Attach looking solid on Hardpoint. Absolutely carrying the respawn, but damn, did New York look so much better on this map than they did previously against Minnesota. You got to give big kudos to all 5 guys for working. And of course for Revan, I'm sure, who had a lot to do with what they were focused on throughout the last week and a half. They looked much better here. 250-114. New York subliners roll through the Paris Legion, and it leaves a lot of question marks for me when it comes to Paris. Again, they go down to that losers bracket, and now all of a sudden they have to wait and potentially have to play up to four matches if they want to have a full comeback on this. Going to London versus Toronto, the first look we would get at the London crowd pretty much in full force, although they did support the Chicago Huntsmen pretty considerably. But this is the one that we are most excited for. And again, not just because of the home crowd potential, but we're also going to see Bants coming in to play instead of Metals. Ramaza Hardpoint would be map number 1. It was tight pretty much all the way through with only one exception. Wuskin, and Wuskin. He was 36-15 at one point in time. 250-221. London able to find the late surge and get over Toronto. Bants played okay. I think it was like 25-27, something in there. It was just an okay performance. And for, again, Metals, who looked really, really good, I thought, for this Toronto team, for the role he was playing, I was surprised by this maneuver. Going to the search and destroy. Now it was down to Dylan. Again, Wuskin popped here the last time we saw him in Piccadilly. He would still play well, but Dylan did a lot of work with the SMG to open up tons of space by the buses. And with that SMG pressure, London are able to survive through the Piccadilly search 6-4. Then we go to Gunrunner Domination, and there was something weird about London, that they looked like they were just about ready to click on all cylinders, and then something would fall apart right when they were about to convert a couple of opportunities. Gunrunner Dom did not go their favor. Toronto would start to bounce back just a touch, 209-173, in what was a relatively not close game. And then we go to Azir Cave Hardpoint, and again, brilliant timings for London when it came to setting up little mini pinches. Toronto looking a little bit more vulnerable than maybe they did at Minneapolis. As we had a more extended look at them here, they would lose this one 251-81. London goes on to face up against New York in the essential first qualifier for the playoff bracket after they won 3-1. So let's get into it. you missed this one, you're going to want to go back and rewatch it. A very gritty series, and now it was Dylan this time around that played absolutely out of his mind. And I think at one point in time, it was either Easy Mac or COD Gamepedia had tweeted that Dylan is playing with this SMG like he's got stim shot, grapple, and grab slam. He was all over the map, playing like a maniac the entirety of the day, and especially here to keep London in the mix. Although it did not start great for London. Down early in the Ramaza hardpoint, not fully able to make up the differential. New York would take map number 1, 250 to 187. We go to the Petro S&D where London was trying to kind of pull together a comeback, but again, you really like what you're seeing here from the AR pressure from players like Accuracy. New York looking much more fluid in the search and destroy. They survive through the round 11 and are able to take it obviously 6-5 and put them up 2 maps to 0. But wait. It's London. The crowd's going to start getting involved, and they started to get a little bit hostile, and it definitely showcased on the Hackney Dom map 3. London feasted off the energy, never let New York really get into this game. 202-152. We go to the cave hardpoint. Same thing here. Again, just like you previously had saw London, when they were playing up against Toronto, looked even better, even more polished. 250 to 135 in an absolute beatdown, and you can kind of feel the energy. Gunrunner S&D. New York starts to kind of fall apart late, and I think you could have kind of feel the tension kind of building, and you kind of felt like New York was going to crumble, and they absolutely did. London survives through, finds the reverse sweep, 6-4, and I swear I thought the copper box was about to take off and take flight. Absolutely electric energy, what you'd expect from a very drunken London crowd, but it was a very, very fun series. So again, going back into what we're dealing with tomorrow for you guys, we'll be starting with Seattle going up against Los Angeles Guerrillas in about 3 hours time from when I'm currently recording this, so I hope you get your coffee ready. And then we'll be dealing with Paris and the Toronto Ultra, where again, they'll have to go up against the New York Subliners, who are waiting for the loser there. And of course, the Dallas Empire currently awaiting the winner of the Seattle Surge and the Los Angeles Guerrillas. And then the winner of that match then puts themselves into that 4-team bracket where the top from Group A will play up against the second from Group B. The top from Group B would play up against the second from Group A in a single elimination style bracket. Have not had a chance to look at the betting lines, but I wanted to give you guys the recap and the breakdown. The biggest thing for me as far as things to look for when it comes to tomorrow, can Accuracy continue to play consistently for New York? Because if so, I don't think it will make a difference who comes out of that Paris or Toronto pool. New York looked very, very good across a multitude of different maps and combinations today. So if it comes down to a rematch versus Paris, I think it'll be a little bit maybe closer than the first iteration, but New York has looked much, much better in the search and destroy. And you're looking at Paris and Toronto, who both are just doing a little bit okay in that department. And then on the other side of things, on the Group A side, when you're looking at the Dallas Empire, as long as Shotzi does not completely cost on domination or respawn as a whole, I think this Dallas Empire team has nothing to worry about out of this Seattle Surge again, if they get him, or the Los Angeles Guerrillas. I feel confident that Dallas will come through, and then you're dealing with what I think my top 4 will be, which is Chicago and Dallas, and then London, obviously. And I think New York has a chance to actually do this. Honestly speaking, you're going to get Dallas and Chicago in the finals. I don't see either of them putting up major fights in New York or Royal Ravens to fight up against Chicago or Dallas, and I think you're going to get a rematch there. So hopefully you guys enjoy the games. I'll be doing a day 2 recap sometime tomorrow evening or late tomorrow night. Again, I'm sorry that I haven't been able to put as much quality in these videos as I would have liked to with clips and things of that nature, but I will be doing a top plays highlight when I have a chance to go back and rewatch over all the games. So make sure you subscribe if you want to get some content on that, as well as coming up, we'll be doing more breakdown analysis videos for you guys there too. So make sure you hit that notification bell. All of you guys that are Rageaholics out there, part of the notification squad, I do appreciate you guys. Every time you comment in the section below, I love it. It makes my heart absolutely skip. So hopefully we'll catch you guys down in the comments. Until the next video, hope you keep holding it down. Later. Bye-bye.